How to walk. Kind of a silly question to ask, but if you walk around in public and watch the way people carry their bodies and the objects that they use their bodies to carry with them, something that definitely needs to be addressed and brought some more awareness to. So we're going to do that. First thing to think about with walking is walking equals standing from an alignment perspective. And what I mean by that is that when I'm standing, I'm in a neutral stacked position. So I'm stacked mostly on top of my heels. My feet will be flat, I'm not going to be balanced up on my heels, but most of the load should be in structure, not leaning forward and using feet and ankle and strength to carry myself up. So I find structure. Heels are my root. I put my pelvis on top of my heels. It's neutral. I'm not sticking it out. I'm not tucking it under. I'm not trying to do anything. I'm trying to let it fall into a neutral stacked position. My ribs are on top of my hips. Again, I'm not trying to soldier my chest up. I'm not trying to cave it in, certainly. I'm trying to find that neutral, relaxed, stacked position. And then finally, head stacks on top of pelvis. So you have heels, pelvis, ribs, and head. And those are the 4 points that you work on trying to stack. A great practice for this is that simple standing twist that we so frequently do during warm-ups or cool-downs or clean-outs. What adding movement to practicing neutral alignment does is it helps to practice keeping your alignment even when you start to move. A lot of times we'll do something like organize and create alignment, but then if you ask someone to move, they just immediately start walking the way they normally walk. Everything goes, the body doesn't connect the static to the dynamic. So treating walking as a practice in standing is one way to help bridge that learning gap for the body. So once we have our neutral stack and our root is more in our heel, we can start to walk from here. The gait of walking is in front of the body. So when I'm walking, most of the gait is happening in front rather than leaning forward and having the gait behind. If that's the case, I'm always trying to play catch up. I'm basically falling forward and my feet are trying to catch up. So when I walk, I find my neutral stack, and it's as though I'm standing and just shifting my standing stance from foot to foot. There is a slight, in making that change happen, a very slight spiral. So the 4 corners of the body, shoulder and hips, so the pelvic girdle and the shoulder girdle, are going to have a bit of a cross-body movement. If I come straight at the camera, that means that opposite side and opposite side move together. So there's a little bit of separation. Here we're trying to destroy that robot box. So a lot of folks, when you watch, go take a look at people walking around or running around, and they're moving their limbs, but not their center. So the center just locks into place. And I'm exaggerating here, but go take a look at how many limbs are moving without any movement happening around the pelvic girdle, the shoulder girdle, and the spine, which connects the two. So a little bit of a spiraling movement, coming side to side. Let's do. This is not meant to look like, some fancy saunter. I'm not trying to speed walk. I'm not trying to catwalk. I'm not, 1 foot over the other. That's not what I'm referring to, although it's kind of fun. I'm referring to a very slight, small spiral, so that it feels fluid, feels natural. It doesn't feel stiff and rigid and heavy, and I let all of my weight fall down through my structure as I turn. So it makes it as simple and easy as possible for my body to do the work of carrying me. Now, when I add a load to this structure, it might slightly change the way the lines look, but the principles stay the same. When you do a loaded carry, whether it's 1 bag of groceries or 2 bags of groceries, the idea is that you're trying to merge that weight as best as you can into your structure. So don't think of it as this is extra weight and I'm trying to really work hard to get strong so I can not be bothered by it. No, that's the wrong mentality. The mentality is you're trying to bring this weight and connect it with you and then carry it all together as easily as possible. So here I'm carrying one side. I'm going to use more tension now to maintain my line, but my root is still in my heel. I still have a very, very slight spiral happening. And I'm trying to stay on top of it. I'm not trying to let the weight pull me around, and then I constantly try to align myself to the weight. I try to bring the weight into me and make it part of me. Now, last place where we want to think about walking is if we encounter an object or encounter something that we have to step up on or step across. Here, I brought a balance beam because it sort of represents both things, both a bit of a level change, a small step up, and an awkward context that requires me to balance and manage a lot more than if I have all the ground in the world. All the principles are the same, whether I'm taking a load on this or I'm taking just my own body weight on this. The principles are all the same. I'm trying to use that neutral stack. When you're on a beam, the line is heel to about your second toe. So that's the line through the foot that you want to be on the beam. Heel to about the second toe, and then your other toes can curl around, provide a little additional assistance. So we talked about low carry. There are other positions of carry. There's the racked carry, shouldered in front. There's a shouldered carry where I'm letting the object rest on my torso. This is the same as if you see an old picture of someone carrying two buckets or two baskets on a long rod. Actually, people can carry a lot more weight doing that than they can on a rigid structure because the flexible rod allows the body to more efficiently manage a heavier load. It spreads out the load, and the bounce saves a little bit of the compressive weight of the load. But I digress. We're not going to do a bunch of crazy bamboo rod carries. But I am trying to put this, just like I would with the rod, into my structure. Same thing if I reach up overhead, if I carry one or two weights overhead, I'm trying to find structure under this. I'm not trying to let it hang on a stretched out arm. I'm trying to align myself underneath the weight. And again, merge it with my structure so that I'm doing as much structural work for the carry and as little strength. That goes with all kettlebell lifts too. One of the beauties of the traditional kettlebell lifts is how well they align with the mechanics of moving the body in lots of other contexts. You merge the bells with you rather than contort your body to the weighted object that you do with lots of other forms of weightlifting. The overhead lockout position, structurally sound. Rack position, structurally sound. The rack is heavy enough, the body's going to have to move out of line to let the weight come down into the middle of the foot. So if you're doing a racked carry, you're not going to be perfectly straight up and down. Otherwise, you're not using structure. You're just using the strength of your arms and your upper body to carry. All good, but you're missing the point of carrying and letting structure. So here, that slight arch allows this weight to come into my pelvis so that my feet are carrying it up and down, not just, oh, I got a super heavy thing and I'm going to wing my arms out here and show how strong I am because I can carry this weight. That's missing the point. The point is to try to bring the weight into you and make it part of your structure. So, walking comes down to alignment and gait, and those two principles flow through whether you're doing it with carries, whether you're doing it with balance, or any other form of bipedal locomotion in the walking gait.